NBA Media Day is always a trip. Every year, it gives fans a weird but wonderful window into the minds of players, coaches, and organizations, where optimism runs high, expectations are skybound, and no one has lost a game yet. This year's edition was no different, except maybe for the Boston Celtics, where things are starting to look a little experimental. And depending on how you see it, that's either a brilliant tactical pivot or a red flag waving in the early autumn breeze. Let's talk about Joe Mazzulla's comments, easily one of the most fascinating nuggets from this media day. According to rookie Jordan Walsh, the Celtics are exploring a rotation system that sounds more like hockey than basketball. We're talking full-line shifts, 5 players in, 5 players out, every 4 or 5 minutes. The idea? Max effort in short bursts. No pacing, no conserving energy. Just full throttle basketball from whistle to whistle. It's the kind of thing that makes perfect sense when you're playing NBA 2K or running pickup games with your buddies. But at the highest level of professional basketball, that's a whole different story. Now, it's not like the Celtics are short on talent. Jaylen Brown is still in the building. Derek White, too. There's a solid backcourt foundation. But outside of that core, Boston's depth chart looks like a science experiment. Peyton Pritchard, Anthony Simons, and then you're diving into the pool of unknowns. Jordan Walsh, Hugo Gonzalez, Baylor Shyman, and a front court that feels as stable as a house of cards in a wind tunnel. Maybe that's exactly why Mazzulla is cooking up this wild strategy. If you don't have a locked-in, star-driven rotation, why not lean into chaos? Look at what the Indiana Pacers did last year. They didn't have a superstar-heavy roster either, but they ran teams into the ground with sheer effort. From tip-off to final buzzer, they pressured the ball, picked up full court, and turned every possession into a track meet. That's not exactly groundbreaking, but in today's NBA, where load management and rest days are more common than ever, just outworking the other team can still go a long way. If the Celtics are really embracing that same mentality, it could be a sign that they're embracing the grind this season, not the glamour. But you also get the sense that this isn't just about effort. It might be survival. The Celtics know that they're missing a piece, and not just any piece. Jason Tatum's injury changes everything. His presence covers up a lot of roster cracks. And while there was some noise last week that maybe, just maybe, he could come back sooner than expected, he walked that optimism back pretty hard on Media Day. Now, the tone is completely different. Tatum made it clear he won't return until he's 100%. No minute restrictions, no one game on, one game off scenarios. He's only coming back when he can go full speed, no exceptions. And honestly, that's exactly the approach he should take. If the Celtics fall out of contention early, there's no point in rushing him back. Let him rest, recover, and come back even stronger next season. Draft positioning becomes more valuable in that case. And even if a new rookie doesn't fit Boston's current timeline, the asset can always be moved. Flexibility matters. But of course, if they manage to hold the line and stay competitive, maybe that creates the perfect storm where Tatum returns and pushes them back in a conversation. That's the kind of narrative the franchise is clearly hoping for. Back to the weirdness, though. The rotation chaos isn't just about shifting players around. It speaks to the entire identity of this team heading into the season. Everyone's trying to prove something. Xavier Tillman, for example, showed up 12 pounds lighter and said he's been working on extending his range beyond the arc. That's one of those classic off-season storylines. Big man starts shooting threes. That sounds amazing in theory and mostly irrelevant in practice. Hitting jumpers in an empty gym is one thing. Doing it with a defender in your face and the shot clock winding down is another. But still, props to him for trying to adapt. Then there's the bigger picture with the front court. Brad Stevens admitted, plain and simple, that he doesn't know how things are going to shake out. That's probably the most honest thing to come out of Media Day. Namias Quetta might get the first crack at the job, but nothing is set in stone. Luka Garza is still in the mix. Although, let's be real, we probably know what he brings at this point. And Josh Minott is also a name that popped up. You've got 3 or 4 guys all trying to prove they're more than just fringe rotation players. It's wide open, and that's exciting or terrifying, depending on your perspective. And then we got to hear from Anthony Simons, Boston's shiny new acquisition. who's saying all the right things. He talked about being excited to join a winning culture, and he made it clear that defense is a priority for him now. That last part might raise some eyebrows, because when a player says, "I'll defend now because I'm in the right environment," it kind of begs the question, what were you doing before? Of course, environment matters. Of course, playing with elite defenders can help raise your own game. But at the end of the day, defense still comes down to effort, and if you're only now buying in because of the system, that can be a bit concerning. That said, Simons is real upside. In Portland, he was often forced into situations where he had to be something he's not. The number one guy, the top scoring option, the floor general. In Boston, he won't have to be any of that. He could just hoop. And with a coach like Mazzulla emphasizing defense and team-first basketball, maybe that really is the spark he needs to evolve his game. Of course, not everything was XS and OS. Jaylen Brown spent part of Media Day streaming live on Twitch, because why not? And even brought along Bill Nye the Science Guy for the ride. That's not a joke. While reporters were asking questions, Bill Nye was hanging out in the background. Brown seems loose, comfortable, healthy, and, most importantly, locked in. He said this is the best he's felt in a while, and that the knee issues that slowed him down last season are now in the rearview. You want your veterans in a good headspace, and right now, Brown looks like someone who's ready to take on more responsibility, especially with Tatum sidelined. Even Peyton Pritchard made waves, not with some bold prediction or stat, but by saying he cut out alcohol and is focusing on recovery, sleep, and staying in game shape. That's the kind of subtle detail that tells you a player knows his opportunity is coming. If Mazzulla really goes all in on this high-energy, hockey shift strategy, someone like Pritchard becomes way more valuable. He's a spark plug, the kind of guy who can give you 8 minutes of chaos and swing a game with energy alone. What's clear from Media Day is that this Celtics team knows it's in transition. No one's pretending otherwise. But instead of sulking or sugarcoating it, they're leaning into it. They're trying weird stuff. They're trusting the process. They're hoping effort can make up for what they lack in top-tier talent, at least until Tatum is back in the fold. Whether or not that works is another story entirely. But at the very least, they're not standing still. And in a league that punishes predictability, maybe that's the smartest play they could make. As the buzz of Media Day starts to fade and the real work begins, all eyes are shifting toward training camp, where the smiles turn into sweat and optimism starts meeting reality. For the Boston Celtics, this training camp feels different. It's not just about tuning up the usual stars or finalizing a rotation that's already been penciled in. It's about finding out who's actually ready to step up and which of these experimental ideas will hold up under the weight of real competition. The frontcourt battle is easily one of the biggest storylines going into camp. And the truth is, no one knows how it's going to unfold. Not the media, not the fans, not even Brad Stevens. When your basketball operations guy openly admits that the frontcourt rotation is completely up in the air, that says everything. There are names in the mix, sure, but none that scream locked-in starter. Neemias Quetta seems to have a slight edge for now, just based on the early depth chart and potential, but Xavier Tillman is breathing down his neck. And then there's the wild card in Luka Garza, a player who's been hanging around the league for a bit now, trying to prove that his old-school game can still find a place in today's NBA. For a team that has had reliable frontcourt anchors in years past, Al Horford, Robert Williams, even Daniel Tice in certain stretches, this kind of uncertainty is new territory. And maybe that's why there's a focus on versatility and conditioning. The idea of shorter shifts, running at a relentless pace, and rotating multiple bigs instead of leaning on a single dominant center. It's not just a stylistic shift, it might be survival. If none of these guys are clearly above the rest, why not run them all in bursts and see who holds up? Then there's the young wing group, another mystery box waiting to be opened. Jordan Walsh has already gotten some shine for relaying Mazzulla's radical new rotation ideas. But what he really needs to do is show he belongs. The physical tools are there, the length, the energy, the willingness to defend, but camp is going to be the true test of whether he's ready to contribute or still a season away. Alongside him, you've got Baylor Shyman and Hugo Gonzalez, both of whom are relatively unknown commodities at the NBA level. What separates these guys might not even be talent. It could just be consistency, execution, and how well they respond to a coaching staff that's clearly not afraid to experiment. Joe Mazzulla's approach to coaching continues to be one of the most fascinating parts of this whole rebuild-on-the-fly narrative. The fact that players casually refer to him as a weirdo and do it with admiration says a lot about the kind of atmosphere he's cultivating. It's not about being traditional or fitting into a mold. It's about being open, adaptable, and above all, competitive. Whether it's 5-in-5-out subs, encouraging bigs to shoot threes, or building an identity around outworking opponents, you get the sense that Mazzulla is willing to try just about anything to squeeze the most out of this group. And maybe that's exactly what a team like this needs. With Tatum's timeline up in the air and no guarantee that he returns at all this season, this isn't a time for caution. It's a time for calculated chaos. Try things, test combinations, throw players into the fire, and see who burns out and who breaks through. That might sound risky, but it's also honest. The Celtics can't afford to just play it safe and hope the top-end talent carries them. Because for now, that top-end talent is sitting in rehab mode, not on the court. There's also this quiet underlying theme throughout the team, self-awareness. These guys know what's at stake. They know the margin for error is thin, but they also seem genuinely committed to doing things the right way. You can hear it in the way Jaylen Brown talks about his off-season work and how he's finally feeling fully healthy again. You can see in the way players like Pritchard are taking their recovery seriously, cutting alcohol, focusing on sleep, and coming into camp early. That's not the stuff of highlight reels, but it's the foundation of professionalism. And when you're facing an uphill climb, having a locker room full of guys who are bought in, not just physically but mentally, might be the most important factor of all. Then you've got Anthony Simons, whose presence feels like both a blessing and a challenge. He has the tools. He has the shot making. He has the potential to thrive in this system. But he also brings a history of defensive indifference, something that won't fly in Boston. He says he's ready to buy in. He says the culture will bring the best out of him. That's great. Now he needs to prove it. Because the Celtics don't just need scoring. They need commitment. And if Simons becomes even an average defender within this system, he suddenly becomes a lot more than just a sixth man or trade chip. He becomes part of the solution. Speaking of trades, that cloud is going to hang over certain guys all season. Sam Hauser knows it. He spoke candidly about being included in trade rumors during the offseason and said all the right things. No bitterness, just professionalism. But everyone knows the reality. Guys like Hauser, Simons, even Pritchard, they're going to be linked to trade talks all year. It's just part of the business, especially when your roster is in flux and your timeline is uncertain. The question is how those guys handle that pressure. Media day is easy. Training camp and the grind of the season will be the real test. And while all of this is happening, there's a weird energy brewing around the rest of the league too. Portland is a mess. Robert Williams, now a Blazer, still isn't cleared for contact. Scoot Henderson is banged up, and it feels inevitable that Jeremy Grant is on the move soon. Same goes for Lauri Markkanen in Utah. Those are the kinds of names that could shift the balance of power depending on where they land. And yeah, maybe the Celtics kick the tires if the season trends in the right direction. But again, none of that matters unless this current group proves it can hang in the fight. But before we continue, please remember to subscribe to the channel and give the video a like. Your support helps us keep bringing you the latest news about the Boston Celtics. Feel free to share your thoughts on the news in the comments as well. The basketball world is buzzing with what could be the most sensational move of the season. Kevin Durant, the prolific scorer and former MVP, has reportedly agreed to join the Boston Celtics. While nothing is official yet, sources close to the star forward suggest that the deal is done, sparking a frenzy among Celtics fans and NBA enthusiasts alike. Rumors began circulating early this week when Durant, known for his meticulous approach to career decisions, was spotted in Boston for a series of meetings with team executives. Insiders say the talks were unusually smooth, hinting that both sides were eager to make this blockbuster happen. Durant's potential arrival in Boston would dramatically reshape the Eastern Conference landscape. The Celtics, already a strong contender, would gain an offensive juggernaut capable of taking over games single-handedly. Analysts are speculating how head coach Joe Mazzulla would integrate Durant into the current rotation, which boasts young talent and seasoned veterans. Could this be the missing piece that propels the Celtics to another NBA Finals appearance? Fans are already dreaming of a Durant-Tatum pairing that could dominate for years to come. The timing of the rumor adds another layer of intrigue. With trade deadlines and free agency moves always keeping teams on edge, the Celtics may have pulled off a coup without warning. Social media is ablaze, with posts ranging from excitement to disbelief, as fans dissect potential lineups and speculate on the team's strategy. Some skeptics wonder if this is simply a negotiation tactic, yet those familiar with Durant's history of decisive moves are betting this is the real deal. If Durant officially signs, the Celtics would not only gain one of the game's elite scorers, but also a veteran presence who has carried teams to championship glory. The ripple effect across the league would be undeniable. Rivals would scramble to adjust, while the Celtics fan base prepares for what could be a historic season. As whispers turn into headlines, one thing is clear. Kevin Durant and Green would be a game-changer, and the NBA is watching every move with bated breath. The question now isn't if Durant is coming, but how quickly the Celtics can unleash this star-studded potential. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to keep receiving exclusive news about the Boston Celtics, please subscribe to our channel and give the video a like. We always appreciate your comments and opinions. See you in the next video.